You've written before that the EFF was taking the narrative of land and leading with it, which is something the ANC should have done. And it seems like it's no different in the manifesto, that their focus will be joblessness and landlessness.
Yes, what they did, in fact, there was a good cartoon which was done by one of my colleagues at Business Day, where the EFF was positioning itself as the policy arm of the ANC. They have just done exactly that. 2 weeks ago, the ANC launched its manifesto, and they've now taken, they've tried to sort of steal the narrative from the ANC. They are focusing on jobs and obviously on land. But a key word in the manifesto is now. They want jobs now, they want their land back now.
We were joking about it earlier, just before we went on air, seeing the footage that's coming in from Soshanguve, that they're talking about the veterans, and you were saying a 60-year-old party, and we can talk about veterans. How authentic is this? Is this a facade?
I think it's very interesting, but it does talk about the last 25 years as well, about the dissatisfaction and the disaffection of so many people with the existing and older parties, including the ANC, of course, that you are seeing now, instead of the youth league, the ex-youth league members, you're seeing elderly people sort of finding a message that resonates with them from an essentially young party, the EFF. So it is quite ironic, but I think you're going to see quite a lot of people sort of switching sides. As you have seen, quite a lot of splintering of parties. There's the African Content Movement, there is the other one, the ATM. So you will see quite a lot of traditional lines being played, I think.
What are the EFF's chances going into the 2019 election?
What they've done with this manifesto is to talk about their track record of the last 5 years. What I find very disingenuous, though, is that they have sought to distance themselves from the last 25 years. I think that's disingenuous because they were part and parcel of the last 25 years. You can't all of a sudden deny that there's been progress, and you can't deny that they existed before in another guise as members of the ANC Youth League. What are the chances? The chances, I think, now they have a track record of doing things. This
Especially
is the first,
being in government.
Being in government. Well, they have not really been in government. Remember,
at the level that they've been in, yes.
Yeah, they have enabled a few coalitions in Nelson Mandela Bay, in the city of Tshwane, in the city of Johannesburg, but they haven't blemished their record because they haven't taken seats in government. So the chances of them, I think, lie in them sort of positioning themselves as a party that can govern instead of a party that opposes and disrupts things all the time.
We have live visuals on the screen right now of events at Khali in Soshanguve, where the EFF is holding their manifesto launch for 2019. Your thoughts about the turnout so far? It's quite early in the morning, and the
weather is not good. The weather is not good. It's cool, but raining in other parts of the Gauteng province. Yeah. The choice of the venue is very significant.
Yes.
They have gone to the people. They haven't gone to they haven't gone to the towns or the cities. They've gone straight to as they did 5 years ago, and they did in 2016 local government elections. Of course, the first test today is whether they can fill up the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about the choice of venue. I don't know if you followed yesterday when they had that gala dinner, which I find interesting as well, because that's essentially an ANC format, to have the gala dinner before the launch. But also, major sentiment was socialists during the day and capitalists at night.
At night, yeah.
So how does that tie in with this venue that they've chosen for the launch of the manifesto?
If they have to really appeal to the voters, they have to distinguish themselves from the ANC. Having structures like the top six of the party, having gala dinners and the language is still quite similar to the ANC language.
Doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Well, no, exactly. So they have to distinguish themselves if they really have to decisively break with the past and show themselves to be different from the ANC.
Let's talk about the leadership of the economic freedom fighters. Julius Malema is a very strong character, and if you talk EFF, the immediate relation is to Julius Malema. What influence or clout do the other leaders within the top structures of the EFF have?
I think tribute has to be given to them and credit has to be given to them. That even though they suffer from a big man syndrome, the big man being Julius, they've kept it together. They've kept it together for 6 years. So that takes a bit of political skill. It's a credit that has to go to the leaders, because they could be fighting. You saw what happened to Andile Mngxitama as well. You saw what happened to the other people who have broken away and returned to the ANC. But these guys have kept the unity, at least the unity of the top. But they face the same kind of challenge that the IFP is facing, and all the parties that were founded by big characters like Bantu Holomisa of the UDM, whether they can survive beyond a Julius Malema, whether they can survive, because if it is democracy, at some point, you can't have one leader for all the time.
What separates the EFF from the ANC in terms of the promises of this particular election?
I think it's the sense of agency and the fact that they've sought to distance themselves from the last 25 years. If you look at the manifesto, it clearly says, there is a line in the manifesto that says they are not part of the elite pact of 1994. Of course, that's not entirely true, because they were the children of the ANC. So you can't. But the sense of agency of dealing with South Africa's most pressing problems today, I think, is what separates them from the main party, the ruling party. The ruling party is sort of on an incremental approach. It's taking an incremental approach to the problems to say, let's build on the last...
on what we've put there already.
Yeah, on the last 25 years. We need to accelerate land reform. We need to step up the fight against corruption. The EFF says it brings a sense of agency to all of these problems. They're talking about the doubling up of the grants. They're talking about all the services that government should be doing must be done by government and not by the private sector. They've taken a very radical approach on dealing with corruption, that corruption starts with outsourcing some of the services that government should be delivering to the people itself. What
solutions can they provide in terms of job creation that have not been explored thus far?
That's a very critical question, because they are very good. The manifesto articulates the problem very well. But you can't just overnight in-source all the services that are provided by other role players in the economy into government. So I think where they are not clear enough is how to deal with other structural problems in the South African economy. For example, even if all the jobs were to be made available tomorrow, there are people who just don't have the requisite skills to do those jobs. So if they have to be a ruling party in one of the provinces, they're going to have to get more pragmatic and form partnerships with other role players in the economy, whether it's trade unions or big business and a small business segment in the economy.
In their time within the ANC, did they devote sufficient effort into dealing with such matters, or were they purely political?
I think they did to a certain extent. When they left the ANC, they left with all the programs that they had championed, like economic freedom in our lifetime, the nationalization of the banks, mines. They did articulate those problems, and they did try to find solutions to them. Now they have a real opportunity of showing the difference, that they can take this program and implement it.
We're talking to John Ludlu, a former editor of the Sowetan, a strategist and a columnist, about the economic freedom fighters launching their manifesto in Soshanguve today. We'll also touch a bit on the African National Congress launching their provincial